I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Sarah Potsko, owner and barber at Red's Barbershop. What's up, podcast episode 56 of the On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah. How are you?
Hey, great. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
Yes, it's really exciting. Best comb over cut. You brought the belt, the championship belt. I got my comb over cut today. I can't wait for everyone to see it. So,
I mean, I feel like you should expand on the comb over cut because that award, out of all the other awards that were offered, which there were only 5, so let's be real, it's not a comb over as in, you know, an older gentleman's comb over that flips in the wind. It's actually a pompadour haircut and a skin fade that was timed in the middle of a boxing ring, actually, with 3 other barbers, 2 other barbers and myself, with loud, awesome music and a terrifying experience for me who had no self-confidence at the time, but somebody who needed to do this because I was pretty much dared to at my old employer.
Nice. So we're going to talk about this WWE style belt in a few minutes. But let's first talk a little bit about your background and kind of how you got into becoming a barber. Take me back before you were a barber and tell me how you got into it, why, and go from there.
All right. So I feel like it's a crazy thing when we're in school, when we're in grade school, when we're in high school, we're always told like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be an astronaut? Do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to be a surgeon? Do you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer? But we're never really given different options. And honestly, I didn't find my calling until my parents took me to a beautician. Her name was Erica, and she changed my world. I went in, it was my first haircut, and she seemed so happy. Everybody at that job seemed so happy. And I showed her a picture. She showed me what she thought would look right with my face shape. And before I knew it, she was talking, making me comfortable, and she spun me around, and I felt like $1 million. And I knew right then and there, her name was Erica Sorokoch, actually. And I knew when I looked in the mirror, when I felt confident and I felt happy. And after hearing her, I don't know how to say it, she just had so much energy and a vibe like she loved what she did. I knew then that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It was then I kind of asked Santa for a Barbie doll head where I could begin my journey. And that's kind of where it started.
How old were you?
12. Honest to goodness. And yes, I still believed in Santa Claus at 12. I'm not ashamed to say it. It's all right. My mom she kept me young. I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty proud of my mom for keeping me innocent that long. And getting that Barbie doll head, honestly, it's what I knew I needed to do.
So at 12 years old, you said like, this is what I want to do. I want to cut hair for a living.
Honestly, when I was younger, my grandmother would talk to me and ask me what I wanted to do. And I always told her I wanted to touch lives. And it wasn't until I met Erica Sorokoch, who now owns her own salon. I want to say it's Serenity Salon, and I could be wrong. But if Erica Sorokoch is listening, you are what inspired me to do what I'm doing today. And I'm forever grateful.
So what happened over the next few years? You went on high school, during high school, like, what did you think? Like, did you know that you were going to become a barber? Like, I know you said you wanted to, but like, what happened like after high school?
I really wanted to become a cosmetologist because I saw Erica as my role model. And I don't think many cosmetologists or salon owners or beauticians think much of their job sometimes. I think they discount what they do, but they don't realize how great they make people feel about themselves. So in my heart, that's what I wanted to do. But I was also raised one of 7 with the importance of college. And my parents wanted the best for me. So they wanted me to go to college to get a good job with benefits. But honestly, who believes their parents? Who thinks about what their parents are telling them to do as the right route. So I resented them. They made me do college prep. They focused highly on my grades and they challenged me to do the best I could. And they turned down the opportunity that I could have had to go to Votech because they were worried about if I'd get in with the wrong crowd. And honestly, I understand because it comes with stigmas. But I think today, more than ever, people should be more accepting of technical schools and technical jobs, because I know a lot of people who have gone to college and it didn't work out. They went and they did something that they thought was the right thing to do because we were always drilled into our heads, go to college, you'll get benefits, you'll get everything that you ever wanted as long as you choose the right school and do the right route. But not enough emphasis is put on your passion and what drives you and what will keep you staying hungry towards a goal. And nothing kept me hungrier than that smile from Erica Sorokoch and that memory of how great she made me feel in a time where I didn't feel pretty. And that shaped my life.
Wow, that's like really powerful.
It's true. She totally did. That one moment she probably thought was so insignificant. I remember hearing her tell me that she was working at Home Depot while working. I don't remember the name of the salon that I went to her at, but I remember her telling me her story, and she just talked with such positivity and such charisma that I knew that's what I had to do. People need to find their niche. People need to find what drives them and what makes them passionate about life. Because the people that you hear about that are miserable in their jobs are the people that went into a field blindly for money. Money is great, but money doesn't define us. And if you're only going after money, you're only going to be thirsty for something that you didn't get and something that you could never feel until you really live your passion.
Yeah. So one other thing too, like you said, you thought you wanted to be a cosmetologist, and you're a barber now. And, not that I didn't really know the difference, but I kind of didn't really know the difference, that there's actually a huge difference between being a barber and a cosmetologist, as far as I'm sure, like schooling and just, the way that your hair is cut using a razor and things like that.
Well, honestly, I went to beauty school with these high hopes. I didn't think that I'd be going to beauty school to do perms. Let's be frank. The smell of perms are awful. And honestly, every trade school is just a basic knowledge of 100 different things. And what I thought beauty school was going to be was the highlights and the color and the cuts and the glamorous makeup. That's what I thought beauty school was going to be. But in reality, it was covering a broad spectrum of things. The difference between a cosmetologist and a barber is one simple thing. For the cosmetologist, you learn about nails, you learn about hair, you learn about infectious disease, and you learn about all sorts of things that involve beauty and hair. But barbering, there's only one difference. It's the razor. It's the straight razor. But at the time, I didn't think anything of it because I was going to be this major cosmetologist that was going to open up a shop in New York City when I was done with school. Because beauty school makes it sound like you're going to make $80,000 a year the minute you graduate. But the reality is, you don't know anything when you leave a trade school. You need to fail. You need to experience heads from people that aren't getting perms and roller sets. Not to put that down. I know many people who have successful salons doing their specialty, but that wasn't mine. I loved updos. I loved haircuts, but I didn't understand it. And honestly, I was too immature when I went. I didn't give it a full chance. The teachers there at the Academy of Creative Hair Design, they tried to inspire us. But at 18, you know it all. At 18, if it doesn't interest you, you just want to brush it off. So I was irresponsible and I didn't take it seriously, and I didn't try to get everything from them that I could have because I was a know-it-all brat. Let's be real. 18, they don't know anything more than you. And it's boring if you're learning about something you're not interested in. But then I thought about it, and my brothers told me, if you ever get a chance, you know what? There's this woman named Ruth Brody. She owns Brody's Barbershop, and she cut my brother's hair constantly. And all four of my brothers said, if you ever get a chance to work in a barbershop, just give it a try. That's one thing in beauty school they don't teach you. How many barbers, like how many random people are going to go into a beauty school for a haircut from a learning student when you have short hair and you can't hide that mistake? You can't hide if somebody screws up on you. So I didn't have any experience with men's hair. And I always had my brother's like push. I always had that idea that if I got a chance work in a barbershop, even though it terrified me because I was awful at men's hair.
Oh, okay.
Awful.
Why?
Because I honestly did one horrible haircut where the teacher said, just go, like a half inch around the ears. And this man, and I will never understand, God bless him if he knows who he is right now, but he came in the day before his wedding for a cheap haircut from someone who admitted that she knew nothing about men's hair. And he said, I'm going to get married tomorrow and I need a cleanup. But my beauty teacher left me alone thinking I was smart enough to not do what I did, but I white-walled him. And it was the day before his wedding. So there was no undoing that. And he was very upset and I cursed out men's hair. What my brothers told me, I just pretty much brushed off because I thought, my God, I just screwed his hair up before his wedding. And well, it was a lesson learned. I learned that you do not do a half inch around the ear because no matter what you do, that's not going to look good. Anyway, so that was I'm never going to do barbering ever again in my life. The beauty school teachers told me I had a gift in updos. They told me I had a gift for gab. They told me you are going to make it. You can make $80,000 a year right out of beauty school. And I thought, let me get that. So as time was like closing, I realized I didn't know much and I really didn't apply myself well because I did the bare minimum to get by and I excelled at the things I enjoyed, but I didn't give a chance at any of the things that challenged me. And that was my first lesson. If it's not challenging you and making you uncomfortable, then you're not doing the right thing. You always have to be challenged. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. And they tried to teach me that, but I was an 18-year-old that knew better. So flash forward, I was done with beauty school and I didn't feel confident in hair color. I didn't feel confident in men's hair. But the teacher liked me and they saw that I had some kind of spunk. So they said, you shouldn't give up on men's hair either. And I heard there's this barbershop down the road that's offering free training. So you know what? I thought about Thomas, Matthew, Jared, and Michael, my brothers. These are the people I've looked up to my entire life, including my sisters, Mary and Carrie. I've looked up to them. They're nurses, and I am beyond proud, and I'm beyond proud of what my brothers do. But I had their voices in my head saying, if you get a chance to do barbering, look at what Ruth Brody did. Do it. So I heard about Lyons Barbershop, and there I was out of beauty school. I tried to get a job at about 8 different places, but I didn't dress to impress. I didn't put my best foot forward. I didn't listen to what the beauty school instructors told me. I literally just thought I could wing it and make it. So this teacher went out of her way and told me about Lyons Barbershop and how they went in after the fact and said they were looking for somebody right out of beauty school to train, somebody without bad habits, somebody that they can mold into being a barber that they thought that could move forward. They were a new barbershop. The original barbershop started in Avoca. He was opening his second location. So I thought, I'm going to try. So there I was. I was going to be 19 and I went over to Lyons Barbershop, not dressed to impress because I didn't believe what my mother told me to be true. Put your best foot forward. Dress to impress. Hold yourself highly. Think highly of yourself and you'll reap rewards. I didn't do it. I went over there cocky and I saw Joe Lyons and Ed Backus, and there they were sitting outside. And I drove past the place like 3 or 4 times because I didn't follow directions well either. And well, I finally found them and I talked to them. I said, hey, my teacher D sent me over. She said you were offering free training. I'm not here though to stay. Like truly, I want to learn how to cut men's hair, and then I'm going to open up a shop in New York City and I'm out of here. So for real, I plan on being here 6 months, mastering this art, and see you later. I don't know if you want me or not. Well, the owner, Joe Lyons, he laughed and he said I had spunk. He said, I don't know if you're going to work out, but if you want to try, this is Ed Backus. He's going to train you. All right, let the adventure begin. I went and I watched him for 2 months. All I did was watch him. In between, I was working full-time job at Sears and I was working in jewelry. I was really hauling as hard as I could. I was really working hard to make money and learn from this man. But then December of that year, after 2 months of watching him, he threw me to the wolves. And I hated him for it. I was a nervous wreck. I saw this man who had customer after customer, who knew how to talk to people and knew how to cut any hair to hair. And truly, I wasn't ready to give up the comfort of just watching and pretending like I was doing something. He forced me to do it when I passed boards. He said, it's your turn. And I did maybe 4 people a day if I was lucky, and he criticized every one of my haircuts. I truly hated him. And I mean that with the utmost respect, because this man criticized, he critiqued, he wouldn't let somebody leave with a hair out of place. And I felt like it was a personal attack on me, but really he was making me stronger. He didn't let me make mistakes. When I made a mistake, he pointed it out, he fixed it. The people who were willing to sit in my chair, like Cliff Morales, I've known him since I was 19. He was my first medium fade. Then it was Gary Bliss. Gary Bliss calls it the Bliss Special because I learned on him a different military fade. And it took me probably 2 hours to do his haircut and Cliff Morales' haircut at that time. In that time, I watched all these people pass me. I'd get, if I was lucky, 4 people a day. And I'd watch Ed and I'd watch Joe Lyons, and they would get 15, 20, 30 customers. And people would just walk past me. And I was offended because I felt like they weren't giving me a chance just because I was a woman, truthfully. But really, that wasn't it. I wasn't dressing to impress. I wasn't doing my makeup. I wasn't doing my hair. I was not presenting a person of confidence. So would you risk getting your haircut from somebody who looked unsure yourself and somebody who looked honestly unkept? It took an old person, an elderly person, I'm sorry, that I heard tell Ed, why is this girl always showing up in sweatpants? Why doesn't she do her hair? Why does she look like a slob? Honest to God, that's what he said. And I was embarrassed. It's things that my mother always told me not to do. But it was in that moment that the embarrassment caused me to look at myself. And I'm grateful for it. Because from that point on, I decided to put the best me forward, even if I wasn't comfortable at cutting hair. Even if I wasn't comfortable getting walked past, I decided to look at it a different way. I decided to look at each person as a person I just wanted to get to know. And I listened to Joe Lyons and his stories. I listened to Ed and I watched him. I watched him look around each head of hair, and he would look for the stray hairs. He would he would do everything that he could to see a mistake. And what I thought was annoying was incredible. He was OCD, but it was because he wanted it to look perfect. And that's what set him apart from other barbers. Not everybody waited for anybody else in the shop the way that they did for Ed. And I saw that and I wanted to be like that. So that started me on my next journey.
What was the next journey?
Well, it made me critique myself and it made me take longer on haircuts, but I was getting the confidence with each customer to look for the mistakes and to not look at that as a bad thing, but because I'm human. And it made me look at it as a way to improve. So every day I improved. Every day, if I got one more customer a week, I looked at that as a win. I failed a lot. I screwed up a lot of heads of hair and I saw Ed fix them. Ed would see them and I would finally accept the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. And God loved the people that accepted the lousy haircuts and trusted him to fix them. He was my teacher. He taught me what I knew. And he made sure that everybody looked great when they were leaving. I owe a lot to him for that.
Shout out to Ed.
Yeah, Ed Backus, honestly. Ed's on Scott Street. He opened his own shop. I'm proud of him. And I'm proud to say that he taught me because I was a slow learner. But once I got it. And I got this passion to someday pay it forward. And I don't know when that'll pop up, but I know it's in my future. And I'm going to teach somebody else who's just as awful as me at learning quickly. But when I get something, I get it. And I'm better than anybody else. It just takes me a while.
So you touched a little earlier on, working in the field that's predominantly male. Were there any other challenges that you faced besides not having the skill at the time because you were so young? Are there any other challenges that you faced?
Honestly, the ego. Seeing so many people walk past me without giving me a chance just because I don't want to sound feministic. But I feel like a lot of men think that women can't cut hair. And it's because barbering and cosmetology are different. And at the time, I didn't know. The difference between a barber, a licensed barber, and a licensed cosmetologist is a razor and nails. You get extensive training in nails as a cosmetologist. And as a barber, you learn the straight razor. That's what separates the two.
So then, you trained and got a ton of experience.
From a barber teacher. Ed DeLugosh is the one that finally taught me how to use that razor. Ed DeLugosh was a barber and owned his own barbershop. And he was just another inspiration in my life, just like Joe Lyons, who took me in as a cocky 19-year-old who was going to, eventually conquer the world. But then a few years went by and I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. They taught me how to use the straight razor. But here's the funny part. Whether or not a cosmetologist can or can't use a razor is all dependent on the inspector that you get, the state inspector. So if it's for 7 years, I got inspected at Lyons Barbershop. Not one of those inspectors came in and said, "Hey, are you a cosmetologist using a straight razor?" Not one of them. But then we moved locations. And I'm sorry to say, but this state inspector was a little bit annoyed because the owner of the shop didn't write the correct address. So he drove around and this inspector was in a bad mood because it took him a while to get to this location. I wasn't at work, but my license was there and I had a straight razor in my barber side. So he asked if I was using a razor again while I wasn't there. And they said the truth. And up until this point, nothing was wrong with it. But this inspector said, if you get caught using a straight razor again, if your cosmetologist gets caught using a straight razor again, then we will fine you. If it happens again, we will give you a notice. If it happens again, we will shut your shop down because it is not legal for a cosmetologist to use a straight razor in a barbershop. So that presented the next phase of my life. I was given an opportunity to work in this barbershop, and for the 7 years, I used a straight razor and I used like a Bic razor, the disposables. And now all of a sudden, the people that it took me 7 years to gain their trust, I had to now look at these people and tell them, you know what? I know I've been using the straight razor on you for the last 5 years, because for real, the first 2 years, I didn't make any money and people passed me off. But for 5 years, I finally kind of got my confidence and I was able to do pretty good haircuts. So now I was at risk for losing the clientele that expected the razors. And honestly, Lyons Barbershop told me it's no pressure. Either you go to barber school and you learn to use the razor in barber school so we don't get in trouble. I understood them. Or you just don't use the razor. But I had a problem with that because it took me a long time to learn that straight razor. And it took me an even longer time to learn how to fade like a real barber. And I took pride in being a barber, even though I wasn't a licensed one. So I had a choice to make. My daughter was a year and a half old. And at the time, things weren't easy. There was only one income. And my husband he wasn't my husband at the time. We had our daughter. She was a year and a half old. He just got laid off. And I was really scared to go to barber school. And the only barber school nearby was Jolie in Hazleton. So I leaned on my family and I asked them what they thought. I went to my parents and they encouraged me. They said, do what you have to do. We'll help you. My in-laws, I have to give them, my ex-in-laws, I have to give them all the credit in the world because for 7 months, I decided to go to school. I decided to take out a loan and I went full time. And then I worked 35 hours a week on top of my full-time school position. And I was hell-bent on getting that barber license because I deserved it. And I knew it'd be worth it. I didn't know how. I didn't know if it would work out. Honestly, within the first week of me going to barber school, my car blew up. And I didn't have credit. I did everything backwards. So I had to reach out to my twin brother, actually. And I said, Michael, I'm telling you, I will get my shit together. I promise you, I will go to mom's house. I'll learn how to do a budget, but I need you to give me some money to help me get a car. And my twin, without question, loaned me money to get a used car, which I needed to get back and forth to Hazleton. My parents would have done it, but I'm stubborn. And I'd rather ask my brother for help than my parents. Because again, I was that know-it-all. And these are all the things that my parents didn't want me to go through. We always have this habit of thinking our parents don't know anything. We think that they're our enemies, but really they have lived so much life and they just don't want you to repeat the same mistakes that they made. They want you to be better than them. And I didn't see that. So my twin agreed to giving me $1,000, which got me that car. And I went to my mom and I asked her, I said, Mom, how did you budget for 7 kids on one income? How did you and Dad do it? And she taught me. She taught me everything that she knew. And that started me on a totally different path. But at the same time, I had to own up the fact that I had a year and a half old and I had to give up a good 7 months to go to school full time and become a barber. Sink or swim, I was going to do it. And this time I took it seriously. Miss Cindy and a few other teachers there at Jolie, they bent rules for me because I was determined. I went in early. I didn't want lunches. They did what they had to do to work with me because they didn't see, I'm sure they saw a lot of passionate kids, but they saw a lot of kids that I was at 18. And now flash forward to me being 26 and I learned a lot. And this was a sink or swim situation and I was going to swim. So I did it. And I finished school. I lost a lot of clientele. The people that worked at Lions ended up gaining the clientele that I had. So I had to restart again. And that was difficult, but it was worth it because it led me to the next passageway.
Which is this belt.
Yeah. Well, the belt didn't come along until a little bit after. The belt came around about, I don't know, in 2017. Frank Lyons said, "Oh, well, I would definitely compete in this competition if there were flat tops." But there was no flat top category. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. Why not? It scares me. Barber school scared me. What's the worst that could happen? So I signed up for this barber competition, and another guy, Bo from Lions 2, the original barbershop that Joe Lyons started, he entered it. And Brian Lyons was super supportive. Robin, she was another idol of mine. She was there to support me. And Chris was there to support me. But nobody else but me and Bo entered that competition. It wasn't huge, but picture going in as a woman and you see all these guys and this DJ and you see a boxing ring. And now you're told that there's 3 barbers that are going to be competing in this barber competition. You see these 4 ridiculously blingy belts that I knew I wanted one. Didn't know how I was going to get it, but I wanted one. So I got 3 people to go up there with me to be my projects. You had to take 3 people with you, basically.
Like 3 guinea pigs.
3 guinea pigs that you were going to be timed, spotlighted, and there'd be loud music in the middle of Mount Airy Casino and timed. I mean, that was pretty nerve-wracking for me. And honestly, I was going to pull out, but then my twin brother told me that he was showing up, and then my sister-in-law, Tiff, and my mom and dad showed up for me. They were showing up hell or high water because they knew I was going to back out. Totally would have backed out if they didn't say that they were on their way. So I had to do it. It was all in. And I ended up winning the one part of it, which is the uncoolest name, which is the comb over cut 2017. But that meant pompadour. It was a pompadour skin fade. And I was shaking like a leaf. And this customer totally trusted me as I was sweating beads of sweat and terrified doing this with the other guys that had all the confidence in the world. And then there were the guys from high class that were rooting for me. I didn't know them from Adam. I support them. They're an awesome barbershop. My buddy Jason Wells, he owns Jay's Main Street Barbershop in Luzerne. He told me, "You do it. You're going to rock it. You're going to do great." And he encouraged me. I surrounded myself with all these people that believed in me more than I believed in myself. And that was crucial. You are who you hang out with. Whether you want to believe that your parents are jerks for telling you that, you are who you hang out with. You surround yourself with successful people and you will end up successful because your friends are going to want the best for you. I mean, that was the start of me learning that I could be more than what I was. So then a year after getting my barber license, I decided to take state boards to get my barber manager license, which is a license that allows you to open a licensed barbershop where a cosmetologist can work with you in the barbershop if you wish. But in order to have that cosmetologist, you need the barber manager present at all times. And that means that the cosmetologist cannot use a razor. So that was just part of the learning experience.
So at what point did you obviously you're just talking about getting that license. But what point did you say, like, I want to open my own barbershop?
Honestly, here I was 12 years into it was a comfortable job. It was a no risk situation, but I wasn't growing and I had no more passion. And anytime I wanted to get better, I was blocked off. I asked honestly, I asked the owner of the barbershop, I asked his son if I could do appointments, and he shot that down. But you only make as much as what you put in. So people were getting sick of waiting 8 people deep for me. So I kind of wanted to go in early and do appointments. But in the barber world, appointments just don't mesh. And all I've known was walk in, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to grow. I wanted to make a better life for my daughter. I wanted to accommodate people that were willing to go the extra mile for me. My buddy Dave, he would come in at 6:00 in the morning, and I would hide the fact from the owner's son that I would come in at 6 in the morning. But the owner knew what I was doing. And honestly, I get it. I shouldn't have gone above head, but I wanted to do better. And people like Dave would come in at 6 in the morning. And then I'd push it a little bit more. And I'd try to get in there at 5:30 in the morning. And I just wanted to make more money. I just wanted to grow. And the growth ended, and I was just comfortable. And then I got angry because there was a person blocking what I wanted to do. And when he told me that appointments would never happen, and when he told me that I had to get used to his way of doing things, I needed that motivation. I needed him to tell me, hey, someday you're going to be working for my son, so you better get used to this. And honestly, I'm grateful for him. I'm grateful because anger is what fueled me to take that risk. Anger is what fueled me to say, maybe what all of my customers have been telling me for the last 8 years, and my brothers and my sisters, Carrie and Mary, oh my gosh, they told me the same thing over and over. They knew I could do better. All of my siblings, my mom and dad, they knew I could do better, but I didn't believe in me. And now I had a child that I was accustomed to making a certain amount of money. And now I was angry enough to say, you know what? I'm going to go all in. Why not? And I decided to. And it was the best decision I ever made because it was the scariest one. You know, you hear about people taking a leap of faith, but you have no idea what a leap of faith means until you're going into your employer for 12 years on your 13th saying, well, thank you for the years of experience. Thank you for the great memories. Thank you for everything that you taught me. I really value it, but it's time for me to do my own thing. And then to just quit, to just boom, all of your security, all of your empowerment is gone. You are relying on people who have supported you this entire time, who have believed in you more than you believed in yourself. Now you're doing it. And honestly, it took that for me to feel alive. I never felt my passion being met until I announced that I was opening my barbershop, mine. Sarah Potsko was opening her own barbershop. And in the back of my mind, I always wanted it, but I never thought it was real. And my parents, they supported it. My twin brother, he was there regardless of what I said. I said, I don't need your help. I would go after working a 10-hour day at Lions and I would go paint the shop. My twin was there. My brother Matthew, he helped build up those barber chairs. There were so many people that offered their help. And constantly when I would say, I don't know, do you think I'm making a mistake? Those people believed in me more than I believed in me. So someday I'm going to repay that. I'm going to find a barber that is half as passionate as I was. And I'm going to teach them what I learned the hard way. Because I truly feel without all of the failures, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Yeah. Wow. Hell of a story.
Yeah.
And by the way, like before we started, you like said to me, like, I'm just like a barber. Like, what's so cool and fun about that? Well, that story, that's what's cool and fun. Seriously.
I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
it really feels like the American dream when I can walk into a shop and I look forward to going to work. I mean, there's been challenges. There's been so many failures. I have a ticket counter, honestly, hanging up in my barbershop right now. And all these kids ask me like, hey, what is that? It says, take your number. And I never did appointments. So I started off with a walk-in barbershop, but I was losing constant business because everybody would walk in at the same time. So I had a brilliant idea that this ticket thing, I would give somebody a ticket and then they can come back, kind of like a meat counter thing. And in my head, it was going to work out great. But my twin brother, Michael, he told me, Sarah, you're going to fail. You're going to have to adapt and you're going to have to learn how to do something differently, but it's going to lead you to the next best thing. My parents, they told me that over and over, but I just didn't listen to them because I don't know. I don't understand people. I don't understand myself why I didn't listen to them the first time, but they were always the cheerleaders in my corner. But I didn't hear them because I felt criticism within myself. I knew I could do better, but I didn't know how to do better. And I just didn't know how to take myself seriously. And sometimes you need to listen to your friends. If everybody's telling you, hey, take that leap, you have a special talent. Not everybody is told that. So really, like you, Billy, you started this and you just hit your year anniversary. You've been highlighting small businesses, people that may or may not feel like they're successful. You've been bringing such a positive change to this area. I admire you.
Thank you.
So like coming onto your show was like a big, scary moment for me because I look up to you. I look up to every single person that you've interviewed on this show, and I just don't look at myself on that same level.
You are now. You're on that same level.
You made me feel really great about doing something that I didn't think was all that special. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and by the way, like I have to say, like, yeah, I know we talked a little bit about this before, but you were a little nervous.
Terrified.
Terrified. Terrified is the word.
I promised that I would do something that scared me as often as I could a couple of years ago, just because I feel like growth doesn't happen in comfort. And this scared me. So here I am.
Terrifying podcast experience.
Yeah, I know. It sounds crazy.
How's it going though?
It's going really well. You were right. It's not as bad as it sounds.
Right.
Just like opening up your own shop when you think that it's going to fail. Just like taking any risk when you think that the odds are stacked against you. It's not as bad as you think that it could be. Your worst enemy is yourself. Silence those voices. I want my daughter to silence those voices. I want my daughter, I'm a single mom. My ex-husband is involved in my daughter's life, and she's got the best of both worlds now. But I want her to see that nothing can stop you. And I want to be living proof that it doesn't matter if there's a pandemic. It doesn't matter if you're behind on credit card bills. It doesn't matter if your boyfriend leaves you, if you end up pregnant. That was scary. To me, finding out I was going to be a mother, terrified me to no end because I just didn't picture me being a mom, but she was the best thing that ever happened to me. And she's what made me want to be somebody to look up to. And I want to live up to that. And I feel like single moms out there, you have so many doubts in your mind and you have so many voices in your head telling you, don't do something. Because how can you? Childcare, it's going to cost this much. This is going to affect your child. She's not going to see you, or he's not going to see you as much as you'd like. But honestly, to anybody out there who has a passion and that isn't afraid to stay hungry and who isn't afraid of failing, because let's be real, success is nothing but a ton of failures. Success is nothing but learning from each failure and refusing to grow, like refusing to give up from them. It's accepting that you're going to grow regardless of what challenge comes your way. And I just think that we need to give ourselves more pep pep talks. If we would talk to ourselves the way that we talk to other friends who are opening their businesses. When I heard that you were doing this, I encouraged it because you have this amazing energy and you're going to change lives, Billy. Like, I truly believe that you're changing them already. You're making people believe in themselves and you're bringing this awesome attention to our amazing area. We live in Wilkes-Barre. Everybody talks about how you want to get out of Wilkes-Barre, but our valley is a valley with a heart. Where else can you go that if somebody has a tragic event, people band together? Look at this pandemic. Look at all of the businesses that were saved because people chose to spend money instead of save it. You're bringing attention to people who are doing great things just by being them. We have a heart in this valley like no other. And I really admire what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, means a lot.
Thanks.
So let's talk a little bit about Reds.
All right.
What's going on at Reds Barbershop?
Reds is awesome. It's different. I mean, it's been a challenging process to manage a work-life balance. I had somebody working for me. It didn't work out because honestly, the barbering world, it wasn't meant for appointments. This is a different genre now. And it doesn't jive with everybody. But the girl that was working for me, she had hunger. She had passion. Unfortunately, she gave up her hair dream because a lot of people kept no showing on her. And I took responsibility in that, but it wasn't my fault how other people react. And you know what? I learned to not take it personally because most people don't think, hey, if I just don't show, it's really going to negatively impact someone. They don't think like that. They think, hey, I heard Reds is booked all the way until next Wednesday. And a lot of times I am. Right now I am. But that doesn't stop 7 no-shows from happening. That doesn't stop the life instances where people have to cancel and change. It's a series of adapting and growing and cherishing the good times with each customer. We lose sight of that in rough times. We forget that our passions are there because honestly, the world right now is a different place, but every day, somebody comes in that reminds me of what my passion is, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be living my dream. And I don't know what success exactly means. I hope I know when I get there, but I'd like to think that a part of me is successful every day because I love what I do and I love the people that come into that shop. I regret feeling so harshly about politics and current events. It blinded me and it made me bitter and it made me change my happy-go-lucky me. And I apologize for anybody that I have offended with some of my views. I've changed my views. We grow, we live, we make mistakes. And to anybody I offended, I hope you know I sincerely am apologetic of that. And I wish all of you all of the best. And thank you for the years that you stood by me. And to everybody that's continuing to support me, I love you guys. You're my family. And I'm looking for somebody with drive and somebody with the guts to make it through rough times. I want somebody to add to my shop. So if there is a licensed barber out there that's looking to grow, I have the best clientele in the world. And I think we could do something really special. So I want you to hit me up. I want you to tell me why you would be an asset to me and my shop. Because I'm not done. Someday I'm going to have 3 Reds barbershops. I plan on ending up, hopefully, in Raleigh. I want to be on a beach cutting hair, and I want somebody else, whether it's my daughter, I want a legacy. I want other people to to grow and to be able to open up their own shops. And I want to be the person that helps them get there. And I have a lot of growing to do, and I'm going to get there. So anybody with that passion, I invite you to come talk to me, because even if you don't have the skill, I was awful, but I could teach anybody because I was the worst.
Yeah. So is one of the requirements red hair?
No, that's a bonus though.
So
I mean,
if they have red hair, they're hired.
Absolutely.
Instantly.
No, there's only one red, Billy.
Oh, okay.
But if you're a redhead, I might
be a little partial too.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
ginger's got to stick together.
For sure. Yeah. So what else?
Honestly, if it weren't for my boyfriend, Scott Jones, he's talked about me everywhere. He's talked at me at the bowling league I'm in, which also was another thing that I was afraid to try, but I was afraid to do it, and he got me into it, and I did it. I'm awful at bowling, by the way, but I met this amazing group of people at Chaco's in this bowling league, and he went above and beyond to bring people to me that had no idea that I cut hair, and the sport that he gives me and how he tries to make sure that I'm more confident than what I feel. I owe a lot to him, because he reminds me every single day that I'm worth it and that I can accomplish anything, just like my daughter, Lizzie. For her, like, she is the utmost inspiration in my life. And I'm really grateful that I have a kiddo that believes in me more than I believed in myself, just like my boyfriend and my family, my mom, dad, my brothers and sisters, and people like you.
Thank you. Shout out to Scott.
Absolutely.
How can our listeners learn more about Reds?
Honestly, your best option is to text me, because then, honestly, if you forget your appointment time, you can look back, you could scroll up. I know everybody has a hard time with change. I'm not technology savvy. I'm learning. But if you can adapt with me, I will find a way to get you in. I work some crazy hours, but I've also decided for my mental health that I cannot do more than 10 hours a day, because my child deserves to have her mom in her life. And I deserve to live my life instead of just working to live. I appreciate everyone. And I know it sounds silly to say that I'm booked solid, but an appointment time for me means an appointment time. I am changing it up, and I am going to start doing 20-minute appointments, because too many people say they're going to come and then they don't. So I apologize if you end up having to wait 10 or 15 minutes because life happens and somebody ahead of you is late. Please bear with me. I'm learning. And I've failed a lot, and I know I'm going to fail a lot more, but I won't give up. And you won't find anybody that's going to look to make you feel and look as great as Erica Sorokach made me feel at 12 years old. So give me a shot. And if you can't get in with me, I'm telling you, there are wonderful barbers in our area. Jason Wells, he is my buddy. Go see him. Valerie Brody, go see her. And honestly, if it weren't for Lions, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. Go see Lions. And hey, Ed Backus, thank you for getting me to where I am today, because you started it all.
We got to send this podcast to all these people.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to name so many people.
No, it's good.
But I surrounded myself with successful people. Don Michael Salon. For anybody wondering why I don't do women's hair, I just never did women's hair. I went from the beauty school to a barbershop. So it's not that I don't want you. If you get a male haircut, I am your girl. But honestly, trust me, Lizzie has paid the price, my daughter. And I'm trying to learn
Poor Lizzie.
Women's hair. And God love her, I could braid her hair so that it doesn't look so tragic. But Sarah Potsko, she's my cousin. She's amazing. She's at Eclectic. She does women's hair. It's just not my cup of tea. And I don't want to do anybody that I don't think I can make look 100% better than when they walked in. So when somebody tells you they're not comfortable with long hair, don't take it as an offense. Take it as a specialty. doctors, pediatrics, cancer doctors, everybody specializes in something. And find somebody who specializes in what you need. I'm great with kids. I love kids with special needs. To the moms and dads out there that feel like they're embarrassed because their kids might overreact, they might scream, they might be a lot to handle for you. To me, I will schedule an hour slot just for them because I'm a mom and I know how I would feel. And trust me, I'm talented with that and I would do it for you. So if you need anything like that, just be upfront with me. But please shoot me a text. Texting is easier and I can ask you the questions and I can get back to you when I'm not in the middle of a bunch of haircuts. So I'm trying to make that transition and I'm hoping everybody follows.
Can we shout out your number? Or is that too much?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
570-417-7697. Text me, but realize I'm a full-time mom and a full-time barber with her own business and trying to juggle this whole online school thing. So be patient. And if I don't get back to you right away, truly send me another text because I'm just a mom that gets sidetracked sometimes. So give me some human factor when you're reaching out to me. I'd be glad to have any one of you.
And by the way, I do get my haircut at Red's. So me and On the Stacks endorses Red's Barbershop.
I appreciate everything. I appreciate you bringing me on. This was one of my biggest fears. Talking in public, talking on the radio to me is not my cup of tea.
Well, I think you made it. And I think everyone listening right now is going to be highly impressed with your story and the way you spoke and everything else. It was phenomenal. You did a great job.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And honestly, to my parents, my brothers and sisters, and honestly, the COVID crew that got me through, Josh Mallet, I gotta shout out to you because you helped me out. Dave, you helped me out. And to so many others that I can't announce, I love you guys. Thank you for sticking with me. You're my family. I really appreciate all of you.
All right. I think you made it. This is it. This is the end.
All right.
This is it. You made it.
It was painless.
It was.
You're right.
Yep.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
And keep changing the world, Billy.
I will keep trying. One podcast episode at a time.
It sounds crazy, but you are.
Thank you.
And other people are going to benefit from you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks.
Red's Barbershop, Sarah Potsko, On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Thanks for joining me. If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on the Stacks.